ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the latest edition of the Burgundy Brigade podcast. I am your host, Kevin Goff. You can find me on social media at BRG Brigade Kevin, joined as usual by my fantastic co-host, awesome friend, Aaron Music, at Avalangelist on the Twitter. Aaron, how are you, my friend?
I can talk today.
So. Yay! That's a good thing for considering we're podcasting. You need to have a voice.
Yeah, doing a podcast via text would not be ideal.
It would not be the best, that's for sure. Granted, I would get a lot more words in, but still. The reason I do a podcast with you is because I like knowing what you have to say. So I'm glad that you can say things now.
Well, good. Just keep talking for 30 seconds. I need to grab new batteries for my keyboard.
Oh, all right. I will do my best. Well, we're going to jump in to pretty much the big things of the day right now for the Avalanche, pretty much for every team in the NHL right now. Obviously, the NHL draft was just a week ago. The Avs managed 7 selections in the draft. And, of course, unrestricted free agency period starts on July 1st, which is also Canada Day, which is also Jarome Iginla's birthday, as we all know. So, happy birthday, Jarome Iginla, coming up. And we've got some stuff to figure out for the Avalanche. We, of course, want to also touch a little bit on some Matt Duchene stuff. And from there, we'll also probably discuss the team as a whole. And, who the heck are these guys? What is this team's identity? And can we really expect moving forward from the Colorado Avalanche? So that was about 30 seconds, maybe a little bit more. So hopefully your keyboard's feeling better.
I literally just got back.
Oh, nice. Hey, winner, chicken dinner. So let's jump into some draft talk. The Avs had 7 picks at the draft. And where'd it go? I had their draft list right up there. Okay, so first round, obviously the Avalanche had 4th overall. Thank you very much. Stupid NHL lottery. With the 4th overall pick, the Avalanche selected Cale Makar of the Brooks Bandits from the Alberta Junior Hockey League. He is maintaining his college eligibility and is committed to UMass Amherst, who is not a very good team. But
he struggled last year, but hey.
Yeah, but again, as we've seen, just because they play on a bad team doesn't mean they can't develop and do some good things. Calvin Pickard showed that. He played on a pretty bad Seattle Thunderbirds team and ended up being a pretty decent prospect for the Avalanche until just recently when he was selected by the Las Vegas Golden Knights as their first selection in the expansion draft. So long picks. But Cale Makar, 4th overall, your take on the pick?
No real problems here. He's going to a good program. Don't expect him to produce for the Avs before 2 or 3 years. I would even hedge to be more 3 years. Small defenseman can move, and funny enough story. I asked people who said, "So what's his defensive game like?" And they're like, "We don't really know. He had the puck so often we didn't really find out."
Yeah, and that's of course a great thing because the guy is obviously very involved in the play. In play from top to bottom. Pretty much all the NHL scouts, if you were watching the NHL Network, when they talk about him, they compare his game style, and again, I want to emphasize game style, not immediate talent level. They compare his game style to that of an Erik Karlsson, that type of guy who's always involved. Offensively, defensively, he is just everywhere. And one of the things that I also enjoyed listening to was guys talking about how there was a narrative surrounding him that he was just a small player for a while, and that might impact his draft strategy. But the way he grew over the year and put on muscle throughout the year at the draft, I want to say his final measurements had him at something like 192 pounds. He's 5'11", 192 pounds. So while he's not the tallest guy, he's not small.
And
that's pretty good for a 5'11" frame.
Yeah, it's not. It matters more how strong he is than anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you know, for a guy who, I mean, the question, of course, comes with how good really is he? And we, of course, had this conversation last year about Tyson Jost because he played in a league that he was obviously too good to be in. And just like Jost, who was playing with the Penticton V's in the BCHL, he went and played very well in college hockey, and that's, I think, the expectation that we'll see from Cale Makar when he goes out to UMass Amherst.
And he's been invited to the World Junior Camp for Canada.
Yep.
That would be actually a nice boost for him if he was able to get selected.
Absolutely. But, I mean, he's the type of defenseman that everyone's going for now, that puck-moving guy who skates really, really well, can join the play, and also get back to cover defensively.
Responsible, likes having the puck.
Yep.
All that stuff.
So, I mean, obviously, all of these picks are, you know, you can't really tell until they'll actually get into the league 2-3 years down the road, but all signs are pointing really positively for even Puck Daddy. And we, of course, have to emphasize, because Puck Daddy loves taking pot shots at the Avalanche. Even Puck Daddy was saying Colorado might have gotten the best player in the draft by taking Cale Makar.
Yeah.
So that's a positive right there.
Huge positive.
Second pick, 32 overall. There was some discussion that the Avalanche might move the pick, but they ended up taking Connor Timmins out of the Ontario Hockey League, plays for the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, another defenseman. 2 defensemen in a row.
And 2 very similar defensemen at that.
Yeah, guys
both
who
like to play the puck. I would say Makar is probably more of a playmaker, where Timmins is more of a play starter.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to split hairs there if they're not going to.
Sure. Both good puck movers, and I think the difference is in that Timmins will get the puck started, just like you said, play starter, get the puck out of the zone, make the right pass out of the zone, where Makar will not only make the pass out of the zone, but then jump into the play and then make the right pass in the zone to enter and all that stuff. Timmins has great reports coming out of prospect camp. Decent, good skater, makes good decisions. All of those things kind of reminds you even a little bit of maybe even a farther ahead version of Chris Bigras. What do you think?
Maybe just a little bit. It's lofty, but he reminds me more of Duncan Keith.
Well, I mean, again, game style, not necessarily talent level. But yeah, I can see that. That's good. His point totals last year he had 7 goals, so not a lot, but 54 assists, 61 points. And he played, I want to say, on the second power play unit out there in Sault Ste. Marie. Maybe up towards the top just because, again, it's junior hockey. He might be up there. But he's a guy that is a very solid prospect. You're getting basically a first rounder by taking him with the first selection in the second round. I mean, again, another guy who, by all reports of all the draft experts, is another guy that the Avs got pretty darn good value out of in this particular spot.
Mm-hmm. He'd be really the best value, if not for a guy that they took in the 4th round.
That's right. So obviously the Avalanche had no 3rd round pick. That pick went for Eric Jelena
Great value. Great value. That's complete irony. That's sarcasm, I should say.
And then, so then the Avs had 2 4th round picks. The second pick coming from the New York Rangers in the Nick Holden trade. The first one was their own, in which they selected Nick Henry out of the WHL from the Regina Pats. Good pick. Another good pick.
I like him.
Now, go ahead.
He's got a lot of moxie to his game.
He does. One of the things I like looking at his highlights is the guy knows how to find open spots that put him in really, really good position to score.
Great hands, too.
Yeah. And, you know, there's something to be said, for a guy who might not do everything to set up the play, but still, you still need that guy to finish it. His goal totals were 35 goals, 46 assists, 81 points in 72 games for Regina this year. Regina, of course, was a very good team in the WHL this year. Really stacked, all in all. I think they lost in the final to Seattle, the WHL finals this past season, and he put up 12 points in the playoffs as well. But yeah, guy, I think the only really knock on him right now is he needs to improve his skating.
Drastically.
And that is, yeah, and, that's why he's a 4th-round pick. And there's time to do that. Plenty of time to go back to the dub and refine some of that and really work with the coaches in there because, again, it's a good junior league. They know what to do to make professional players. The WHL has been making a lot of professional players for a long time. And, and he's also a winger. The Avalanche lack wing depth throughout their system and have for a long time. And he's a great guy to have. That's a very good value for a 4th-round pick.
And I have no problems with it.
Good.
Absolutely no problem with it.
There's the Avs' second 4th-round draft pick is Peter Kavacha. I think that might be how you say it. Goaltender.
Your guess is as good as mine here.
Yeah, there you go. Goaltender out of the Czech juniors, lower tier Czech league, and he is kind of a question mark. Not really a lot is known about him. He had some good numbers in that Czech 2 league this year. His Czech 2, where did he go? I had his numbers up just a second ago. Come here. His Czech 2 numbers, where did it go? 16, 17. 18 games, 1.41 goals against average, 0.94 save percentage. So, yay there. Did very well in the playoffs as well. I mean, he's played well in his league, but again, it seems the Avs have now 2 years in a row where they kind of find these obscure overage or second-year draft-eligible players at the goaltending position. Last year was Adam Werner out of like a second-tier Swedish league, and this year it's Peter Kavacha.
And I mean, if it'll work, it'll work. It's great to. Well, it almost feels like they're trying to jumpstart a little bit.
Yeah.
Like they were like, oh shoot, we actually don't have this. we need something like this then.
Yeah. The thing that raises the question mark for me, and it's an odd pick. The thing that raises the question for me is, how do you know? How is it just seems like with both Werner and Kavacha, there's no real ability to give any sort of timetable as to when these guys can really legitimately jump into the system. So right now, the Avalanche have Semyon Varlamov, Spencer Martin, and a gigantic question mark.
And those are big question marks. I mean, goaltending used to be really strong for the Avs. And it's not quite as strong as it was, especially now that Pickard is gone. They lost Ivy Kallio. Martin's the only one in the minors at the moment.
Mm-hmm. And Martin has a lot of. We got a peek at Martin this last season, and he looked like there's a future for him, but he's not at a point where he's ready to make a jump to the NHL yet. He needs to be.
We saw flashes, and then we saw a lot of work to be done.
Yes. He needs to play. He needs to play a lot.
And my hope is that the Avs sign 2 goaltenders coming up on July 1st.
Yes, I would agree with that.
One for National Hockey League and the other for AHL, but can be called up in case one of the goaltenders gets hurt, which it's Varlamov.
There's a good possibility. You don't just want to bring Jeremy Smith back? You sure?
I saw enough of him.
I think most of us did. Let's see here. Next round. the Avalanche selected, and I don't know how to say his last name, Igor Shvyrev, right out of the Russian juniors. And again, if you look at highlights of this guy, he can dangle. This guy can put the puck on a string and go nuts. But the big question with him is, does he? The big question of him is with him is whether or not he even cares to leave Russia.
He has already have a guy that wanted to do that, so that'd be Andrei Mironov.
Yep.
So it was worth a shot. 5th round. If he comes over, he's bringing a lot of offensive talent, playing in big leagues, and get him over here. I'd love whatever it takes. Get him over.
Yeah, and it may help considering the KHL is kind of going through some financial woes at the moment.
And I mean, he's really exciting. Forget who posted it on Twitter, one of his highlights. That was Peter Forsberg.
Yeah, the guy can just...
He moved through the zone, through defenders like nobody else.
Yeah. You just watch that type of thing and go, wow. Woo. Yeah. So, I mean, again, it's a kind of a gamble, but in the 5th round, you're kind of okay to gamble a little bit.
This entire draft for the Avs, it was kind of them swinging for the fences.
A lot of them, I think, they kind of go into that the big time scouting picks, right?
Well, I mean, the previous couple of drafts, there were safe picks, and then this one is more swinging for the fences. Tyson Jost was a pretty safe pick.
Fair.
AJ Greer, pretty safe pick. Nicholas Milosh, pretty safe there as well.
But all those guys were very solid prospects.
There.
Say that again?
This year there wasn't really a single safe pick.
Yeah.
I mean, no one really fit into one constraint box of, prototypical NHL defenseman, or
very true,
power forward, or sniping winger.
Granted, the prototype NHL defenseman has changed.
And it continues to change and evolve. Yeah. You have to be actually ahead of that curve. Uh-huh. Otherwise, you have defensemen who don't fit with the game.
Yep. Very true.
They like guys that can skate and think the game quickly, because then they can adjust to whatever game comes about.
That's right. So Shivrev is a center. So there's another center there. 6th round pick. The Avalanche select Denis Smirnov, another Russian skater. But this time, Smirnov plays with Penn State University. Who
beautiful goal against DU.
Yes, he did. Played into who was part of the Frozen Four this season. Couple very good victories until they ran into the DU Pioneers, who eventually dispatched them. But yeah, they gave DU a run for a little bit there, and Smirnov actually scored the tying goal. And
they kind of came out of nowhere this year. No one expected them to be as good as they were.
Yeah. And then again, I mean, it bears repeating, and take it for whatever it's worth. Penn State is a part of the Big Ten, which is not exactly a powerhouse hockey league.
But they held their own against non-conference teams as well.
They did as well. They absolutely did. Smirnov's numbers have been very good. He played in the USHL before he played before he played with Penn State. And his USHL numbers are all very good. 2013-14, Indiana Ice had 47 games, 15 goals, 26 assists, 41 points. Next year, the Fargo Force, 53 games, 18 goals, 22 assists, 40 points. 15-16 again in Fargo, 29 goals, 32 assists, 61 points in 60 games. And then this past season with Penn State, 19 goals, 28 assists, 47 points in 39 games. And again, the guy he's got those kind of Alex Tanguay hands where he makes really, really impressive moves in very small spaces. And
hopefully he shoots a little more, though.
Yeah, and has the confidence to do that. And that type of confidence, that takes some moxie to make those types of moves. He got a penalty shot goal against Minnesota a while ago, and everybody likes to do that little pull it to your backhand and then slide it 5-hole. But people take for granted exactly how much confidence that takes, because you have to be confident that the goalie is going to bite enough to open up just enough, and that you are able to slide it just right between the small opening between the goalie's legs to get that in there. And I mean, it takes some moxie, because if the goalie stops that, then you go, God, what an idiot! What type of a shot was that? But if it goes in, you go, oh my God, that guy just made that goalie look like a total idiot.
I like the pick. He's really smooth, and I don't think he's actually that far away from turning pro either.
I mean,
maybe
again,
another year or two.
That'd be great. 6th round pick is any type of 6th round pick that sees time is a huge success.
And by pro, I don't necessarily mean NHL.
Sure.
I just mean
pro.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Would be nice to get AHL depth as well.
You need that. You absolutely need that. The Avs finish off the draft in the 7th round with Nick Lieberman, defenseman out of Eden Prairie High School in Minnesota, same high school as Casey Middlestat. But again, he's a Notre Dame commit, just like previous year's Nathan Clerman, who the basic scouting report is that the guy sees the game well and is a really good skater. And if you can get that out of the 7th round, that's a pretty positive pick.
And Notre Dame program is going to be filled with Avalanche prospects by
right?
this time next year.
Yeah.
There's obviously something there that they like. They don't have a problem with their kids going there.
Nope, not at all. And I mean, it's probably just a big coincidence, because can we talk about the huge variety we're now seeing in where the Avalanche are selecting their picks?
Well, we talked about that. We were hoping that they would have variety when they were drafted. They wouldn't target one position or one type of guy in mass.
Yeah.
Which is good, because, I mean, especially 2014, right around there.
Yeah.
It was, if you are above 6'2", and you somehow played a physical game, you're getting drafted.
Yep. Anton Lindholm kind of the exception there, because he's not 6'2", but yeah.
Amazing that he's actually the one fighting for a team, for a roster spot.
Right. So all in all, what would you say of the Avs draft weekend?
Of their actual picks, I give them a B+, but I give them a B- for only having 7 of them.
Yeah.
I mean, if we could go into a draft and give Alan Heppel, 10 picks? Think about the goals
would be really
combined
good.
with that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
2 first, 3 seconds, or 4 picks between the 2nd and 3rd round, then a pick in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th.
You'd have to say that that's definitely an area that you might consider a negative or a failure, if you want to use that word, is that they didn't manage to get more picks. The Avalanche did not manage to get more picks this draft. But at the same time, it's kind of understandable that they weren't able to do that. The Avalanche don't really have the assets to trade.
I mean, that's also kind of a failing, that on a team that was as bad as they were, they don't have any assets worth moving. It would be nice if they come and they're like, well, we're not going to really make it. They have pieces that they could sell off.
Sure.
And get picks and prospects that don't involve trading a core player.
Sure. And again, part of that
quandary.
You can look back at that and say, well, this is sort of a dilemma that the Avs were placed in, sort of towards the end of that Waugh era, when Waugh seemed to feel that the team was in win now, and the assets they traded some draft picks to bring players in to try to get into the playoffs. And they were in a position that in his last season here where they were really close to a playoff. So you kind of get like when the Avalanche traded for Matthias and when they traded for Bodker, they were trying to push for a playoff spot. They were right there when the trades were made. I want to say they were in that last playoff spot when the trades were made.
If they weren't there, they were within spitting distance of it.
Exactly. But then, of course, we had that whole fiasco where weeks before the season began, Wah quit, new coach, these players that don't fit his system. Everyone looks out of whack, and now the team is terrible, and now everybody looks terrible, and really nobody has any trade value.
I mean, if you look at the 2014 draft, every player that they drafted was over 6 foot.
Yeah.
And they have turned one, maybe two of those players into NHL hopefuls.
Yeah.
And that's your 5th and 7th round draft pick, respectively. So that's a little disheartening.
Absolutely.
But after that, the next 3 drafts look really strong.
They do.
I really love the 2015 draft with Rantanen, Greer, Milosh, Bodin,
Yep.
Mironov, Boykov. The only one who isn't even going to come close to sniffing the NHL is Gustav Olhaver.
Yep, and
even then, that was their 7th round pick.
Yeah.
He got selected in the, not the expansion draft, the CHL draft where they draft.
Yeah.
The import draft.
The import draft, yep.
And he got, so that was even a good pick I agreed with as well. The next year, they get Jost. They get Morrison, who was great with Notre Dame last year. Josh Anderson, he's been a little hurt, so we don't know. And then Adam Werner, Nate Klerman, Travis Barron. Travis Barron is actually the captain of his club.
He is indeed.
For Ottawa 67s. I love what they've been doing with their drafts the last couple of years. I just hope they keep it up and allow themselves to add more picks.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And again, we're still at a point where the Avs are far away from what will be a much better draft next year. There are things that can happen between now and then. There's stuff that's going to happen between now and the start of the season. Who knows? I mean, by the time the start of the year begins, Nashville may end up looking at their lineup and going, we really need another center. Okay, I guess we have to give a defenseman up.
It really kind of depends on whether they get Joe Thornton or not.
You think
they get Joe Thornton, that
I don't think Thornton
discussion
fits
stops there.
I don't think Thornton fits there personally. I could be wrong, but I mean, Thornton is a hell of a player. Don't get me wrong, but Nashville's too fast for him.
I mean, I can see him working there, especially on Nashville wants to try and get back to the Cup.
Yeah,
Thornton wants that too.
Yeah,
kind of seems like a united idea.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe
I've just seen Thornton's name tied there, which is why I bring it up.
Fair enough. I mean, and Carolina's another one who's. I mean, it just seems we mentioned again. Carolina doesn't want to give up one of their defensemen to get their top level center.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Carolina both seem like two teams that need to make a move and are afraid to at the same time.
I don't think that the Avalanche are afraid to. I think they are in a position where they have the best piece. They have the best piece that's going somewhere, and they're not going to give it away for less than what they want. And they can. And people need to chill the hell out and not freak out so much because a move hasn't happened. So I don't remember exactly who it was, but somebody said to me on Twitter that they don't care what kind of move it is, as long it could be a stupid move. I'd rather have a stupid move than no move at all. Give me a break.
I was actually reading an article on BSN Denver today about recalling the Rick Nash trade.
Yeah, take a breath
trade
about the Matt
deadline
Duchene thing. Yep.
to the draft, to free agency, and beyond that, Rick Nash was not traded. He was not traded. And then midway through July, the Rangers finally ponied up for the asking price, and he was traded. And Columbus actually used most of the pieces of that trade to set up their playoff team.
Absolutely.
If you look at the pieces on their playoff team.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me say, I understand people want to see something, but you cannot just move a guy like Matt Duchene for the sake of moving him.
That said, what are your feelings if they start the season with him on the roster?
Honestly, it's probably not the most ideal situation, but if they start with him on the team, that still solidifies their top six pretty darn well.
I have some fun thinking of a second line with Duchene, Jost, and Landeskog.
Yeah.
It's a fun sounding line.
It certainly is. Or Duchene, Landeskog, and Comfer. And then you can kind of shelter Jost a little bit.
Yeah. And the thing that I like about Duchene with Jost is Jost would be able to be more adventurous on faceoffs.
Yeah.
Because, he gets thrown out. Duchene just takes in.
Yeah, exactly. You got two centers out there. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. I think it might be harder on Matt Duchene himself to start the season with the Avalanche because then, of course, all the trade talk is going to continue, yada, 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 yada. And that's a hard situation for anybody. And let alone a guy and Duchene is an emotional guy. He always has been. And when his emotions are running positively, when he gets mad, or when he's really rolling, the guy can be next level awesome. But when he's kind of beating himself up, he squeezes the stick and then he's missing. And he spent a lot of time squeezing the stick last season.
He's one of those. He just needs. I would almost like to see him free of anything that includes an impending wedding, free of any trade rumors, or just have Joe Sakic sit down and say, "You're here."
Yep.
I would like to see what the difference would be there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm not opposed to trading him for the right deal.
Yep.
But I'm also not for just trading him just to trade him.
I agreed. And again, I have so much frustration from the last few days just looking through my Twitter feed and watching people just mercilessly rip not only Matt Duchene, who now is apparently a gigantic attitude problem that clearly wants out of Colorado, and apparently that only began in the last week before the draft. Anyways, but the way people then of course rip straight into Joe Sakic. The guy's never done anything well. And let me be clear about this. There have been some bad deals that Joe Sakic made. Most of those were early in his tenure as a general manager. But then the refusal to acknowledge the obvious improvement, the positive trades that he's made, and especially the Ryan O'Reilly trade. Someone was talking with me saying they gave him basically no credit for the Ryan O'Reilly trade because he was forced into making it. And I'll grant you, he was, of course, forced into making it. Ryan O'Reilly put himself in that situation that basically said, trade me or pay me a gazillion dollars. But for a trade that 100% had to be made, look at what the Avalanche got.
A top 9 center, top 9 winger, and your top 2 defensemen.
It was complete. The 6th round pick completed it this season. The Avalanche traded Ryan O'Reilly and Jamie McGinn. The return is now. Let me pull up all of the draft history so I can see it for certain. Of course, Zadorov, Comfer, They got Grigorenko, who is gone now. That second-round pick that was flipped for 3 other picks. Those picks are now A.J. Greer, Cameron Morrison, and Dennis Smirnov. We're talking 6 players, all of whom have a legitimate opportunity to be professional players within the system, plus a guy who is a burgeoning number 1 dominating, come in my corner and I will kill you NHL defenseman. What have the Sabres gotten? The Sabres moved Jamie McGinn for something. I don't know what. And O'Reilly hasn't necessarily been anything spectacular.
They finished about the same place with or without him.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but this is looking much better for the Avalanche here. I don't know. I just feel like people need to just chill out, man.
Instant gratification.
It's so true. It's so true. When
you're doing a rebuild and the Avs are finally doing one, I mean, at least properly.
Yeah.
Looks like. And they're still not doing it fully properly. They need more draft picks and they need to flip more players at the deadline.
Yeah.
But to do it properly, it takes time, patience, and developing your own prospects.
Absolutely.
Once you have those filter through, then you make the occasional trade, start to take some of your assets and grab players to make a run at the playoffs.
Absolutely.
This is really how it works.
That in today's NHL, that's how it works. You build from within. That's how you're good for 10 years, not just a couple.
So McGinn signed with Arizona. He was traded to the Anaheim Ducks for a conditional 3rd-round pick.
Ah.
So?
Yowza.
But it's hard to judge a trade that had so much in the way of futures in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially yeah. Exactly.
You weren't going to see anything on that trade until about this year.
Exactly. And Comfort's starting to come in. I already call that a win. You get a young guy like that who comes in and starts to be able to make a difference, plus a top defenseman.
I feel like if it's not a win, the Avs got good value.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I'm okay with the value. I love Comfort.
We gotta love good value is great. That's and with a trade like that, with so many, like you said, so many futures in it, good value is really the best thing. Is the thing you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And they absolutely got that. So free agency. Moving forward. Now that we're on Joe Sakic. Free agency, we've heard that, of course, the Avalanche are not planning to be big players for the big names in free agency. Do you think that's a mistake?
No. They still need to find another goaltender.
Absolutely.
Like we addressed.
Absolutely.
It'd be nice if they signed another defenseman somehow.
Yep. Uh-huh.
I mean, he was terrible last year, but Kulikov sticks to mind.
Yep.
Just because he's been tied to the Avs for a little while.
He definitely has.
Francois Beauchemin's a free agent.
Don't joke like that.
It's only because I'm slightly loopy from being sick. I like Simone Dupre.
Mm-hmm.
He's a UFA. Cody Franson's a UFA. He might come on a shorter-term deal.
I heard someone link Dan Girardi. I was going, really?
Please, Doug. Dear God, no.
I don't think so.
He's 33. He wasn't great when he was good, and his best years are behind him anyway.
Yeah.
Nope.
Avs don't need any more of those older guys as stopgaps or whatnot.
No.
I would love... I hope very much, and of course the Avalanche have Andrei Mironov coming into the lineup. We'll see what he is, whether or not he makes a big difference in the big lineup. I believe he has a Europe opt out in his contract, whereas if he gets sent down, he can say, "I'm just going to go back to Russia."
Right. Basically, he's going to be here or Russia.
Yep.
And I anticipate he's going to make the roster.
Yeah.
unless he has a really, really bad camp or something, or he gets hurt. And they're like, we need you to start in the AHL just to get strength, build that back up.
Yeah. Again, positive reports coming out from him from prospect camp, and you would expect that because he's had experience in the KHL. So you would expect the guy who has professional experience to be doing well at basically conditioning and power skating camp, which is what a lot of the prospect camps end up being.
Mm-hmm. Nikita Nestorov.
Yeah, he's interesting.
Just looking at different places. I've heard Brendan Smith, but I'm not seeing his name. Time to go look in the Detroit Red Wings.
Yeah. Any forwards? Well, let's talk about some of the goalies. One of the first goalies that I thought might be a decent pickup for the Avalanche for a specific backup role, because that's basically been his role his whole career, was Jonathan Bernier.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'd also be okay with Ryan Miller.
Ryan Miller, look at this guy.
I mean, Miller's at the end of his career. Pretty much knows that.
Yeah.
I don't think any of the true contenders are going to be beating down his door.
Yeah.
So what the Avs could say is sign a short-term contract with us, play the backup role, help Varlamov. Well, maybe don't help Varlamov as much as you need to, because Varlamov's 28.
Yeah.
Actually, he's 29. Gosh, time flies.
Yeah, if Varley still needs help, that's an issue.
But and then when inevitably a playoff team finds out they need a goaltender, or their goaltender is hurt, slipping, whatever you want, the Avs can flip Miller at the deadline for something they can use later on.
That's a possibility. I can see that. So there's a few other goalies out there. Anders Nilsson is out there. He was out of Buffalo. Backup guy. He's basically been a backup his whole time. A few interesting random names come up. Like, who the heck are you? Must be 30.
Who the Avs get at goaltender will tell the fans everything they need to know about how they feel about Varlamov. If they get a guy like Miller or Steve Mason, that should mean they're questioning Varlamov's health a little bit.
Well, frankly, honestly, at this point, back-to-back seasons now, where his injury issues have been big, he's really only had one. Well, he's really only had one or two seasons as a whole where he's been fully healthy. Injuries have kind of been Varlamov's thing, and I would not blame the Avalanche one bit for making sure that they have a guy who can handle, or who has at least been asked to fill a starting role in the past as a backup.
Darcy Kemper, I wouldn't mind seeing. There's a lot of goaltenders out on the market.
Yeah. What type, do you think the Avs should look for any forwards out there? I mean, they definitely don't need to look for a lot, but I mean, there's a lot of positions for the Avalanche to fill this year. They really don't have a lot of people under contract currently, and obviously before free agency begins, sometimes teams, especially rebuilding teams, go through that type of thing. The Avalanche are losing. I mean, they just re-signed Sven Andrighetto, so that's great. $1.4 million on that cap hit for 2 years. They're in the process of re-signing Matt Nieto and Nikita Zadorov. Otherwise, they're still missing a lot of guys as far as contracts are going. They'll have currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 right now under contract forwards. We'll say 11 is if we're going to go ahead and include Nieto. And 3 defensemen. We'll say 4 because we're going to include Zadorov, but 3 defensemen currently under contract.
4. Okay. Johnson, Barry. Yeah, 3. Huh.
Johnson, Barry, Barberio. And once they get Zadorov under contract, that'll be a big relief for all Avalanche fans.
And then they have Bigra, Lindholm, Mironov. They have a lot of guys to choose from. They just feel like they need one more defenseman to really stabilize things a little bit. I mean, as much as they can.
Yeah, I mean, would it almost? Do you think it might be a mistake to go get another defenseman? Why not let those other two, those four guys battle it out for that last pairing? Once you get Zadorov signed, you've got four pretty good defensemen.
I mean, it wouldn't be bad to insulate them with a guy who's steady. So you're only playing one rookie at a time?
Yeah.
Especially since Tyson Berry isn't the most defensively inclined defenseman.
That's
you probably wouldn't want to
very diplomatic way of putting that.
And I don't think you want to do an all-rookie pairing. And I also don't think you want Johnson and Zadorov split up.
Right. Well, now could you look at maybe say bring in Duncan Siemens, because he's not exactly an NHL vet, but he's not exactly a rookie either. He's a pretty steady hand at this point, you would think.
Oh yeah, but that's not going to happen. You and I both know it.
Yeah, I know. I hope. Come on, they qualified him.
Yeah. He is great for the American Hockey League. That's what they feel.
Just give him a chance.
I know I'm poking holes in your dream, but someone has to do it.
Say, fly, little bird, be free. Go destroy this person in the corner. Do what you want to do.
Well, that's supposedly what Mironov does, too.
Mironov's more about the open ice blockbuster hip check, and I hope he gets one of those like the first game.
Oh, Parise.
Yes, please. Oh man, that would just make me so happy. Anyways, that would be a fun pair. Siemens, Mironov. Maybe.
Could also be terrifying for the Avs.
It could also be very bad. Let me have my dreams. Let them live.
So, I mean, for forwards, I would go for guys who are younger. They, at very least, need to sign some people to play for American Hockey League.
That's very true. There's going to need to be a lot of AHL signings, which I'm sure there will be.
I also wouldn't be against bringing a guy like Alex Chason in. Scored 12 goals for the Flames last year. But then again, Colborne scored what, 20 for the Flames? Or was it 18 for the Flames?
He had a really good year at that Flames here. I think he had like 18 and 50 points.
His shooting percentage is like 50%.
Yeah. I have heard a lot of people suggest Nail Yakupov.
No. Do you want me to say why? No, I'm not.
Yeah, go for it. Give me a reason.
Absolutely not. He has not been able to stick anywhere, and he drags down bad teams.
I don't disagree at all. That's just I heard people toss his name around. Brandon Peary is back on the free agent market. I wouldn't mind the Avalanche having a look at him.
No, that wouldn't be bad.
Good bottom six guy. That would be a guy that I think would really, really, really solidify a third or fourth line and make it not quite as scary to put it out there.
You know, we could double down on the Millers, get Drew Miller and Ryan Miller.
Ooh. Hey, big spender. Yeah. I think that's 2 podcasts in a row now I've said that to you. Yeah, no, I know, ladies and gentlemen, I know you want so much difference. You want a gigantic change in roster from last season to this season. I
want more of the roster we saw at the end of last season.
I want much more of that roster. And that's what that is the thing that Joe Sakic has been saying he wants to go towards. Younger, faster. And you're going to start seeing that this year. Go ahead.
And I think tougher.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons Grigorenko was cast off, because he was soft on the puck.
So soft. There were actually some folks legitimately upset about Grigorenko leaving.
He doesn't get my motor running because he doesn't run any motor.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there were moments where he would look fantastic, but then, of course, there were the other several weeks in between those moments where he would just sort of be there. He is just a guy who had all the potential in the world, but decided he didn't want to work hard enough.
And I'm pretty sure he's going over to KHL.
That has been the rumor, is that he is going to go KHL regardless of what happened with the Avalanche. So it makes sense for not qualify him. Yeah. So at the moment, and I kind of put this out there the other day, I like my the lines are interesting, and it was funny because I completely forgot about Carl Soderberg when making them because, well, let's face it, he's pretty forgettable. Or at least he was this past
season. The ice, so
yeah. At least he was this past season for sure. But I think we all like keeping McKinnon, Rantanen, and Andrighetto together. They were fantastic together.
Yes.
If Duchesne is going to be a part of the Avalanche, Duchesne, Landeskog, Jost?
Yes. Give me
a nice third line of Nieto, who's not signed yet, but hopefully will be. Nieto, Compher, Greer.
I put Soderberg with Compher and Greer. Another center can take faceoffs.
Yeah, and I think...
And if they're going to try to offload him, which I think they will, they're going to need to give him more than 12 minutes a night.
Agreed. I don't disagree. I think that's, more than anything, I think that's my line that I want the Avalanche to end the year with, because I do think Greer may need a little bit more seasoning in the AHL.
I think he's at least going to get a couple games at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, and that's fine. Which then, of course, leads the weird, interesting fourth line of...
Island of Misfit Toys.
Yeah, pretty much. You get Como in there somewhere, maybe.
Colborne, Nieto.
Colborne if you have to. I want Nieto up on the third line because I love his game. But what about... And then you got to try to get Grimaldi in there somewhere because I like Grimaldi's tenacity.
Grimaldi and Nieto would work well together, and then just throw a third part in there.
Yeah, Grimaldi, Nieto, and because Grimaldi is a center, so he can play center. Grimaldi, Nieto, and maybe you can throw Colborne in there. At least he'll skate a little bit.
I wouldn't mind seeing Peary with, or even make a third line that has Peary with Nieto and Comfort.
There you go. I could get behind that.
Greer stay in the AHL a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Then you have Soderberg, Colborne, and Como.
Yeah.
The ultimate line of misfit toys. But whatever.
I said that to my wife the other day, and she started laughing. That last line is just the island of misfit toys, and she just thought that was hilarious. Nice. So, I mean, there is a lot of talent there. Obviously, it's going to take time.
It's young, unproven, but yes, there's talent. There's just not depth.
And that's fine. I don't mind having the young players there. They're going to go ahead and make their mistakes while they're learning. That's fine. We're not expecting anything from the team this year. We expect them to just kind of be, towards the bottom. And if they overachieve but still don't make the playoffs, then you know what? Everyone's still pretty happy. Because sure, we didn't make the playoffs. The Avalanche didn't make the playoffs, but man, look at what the prospects put up and how much they produced and how much they're improving. All of that. Those are great things to have. That's losing with a purpose.
And I hate to say this, but if there was ever a year to get the first overall pick, this year would be it.
All in for Dahlin.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to Vegas. He's going to Vegas.
I thought that Nolan Patrick would go to Vegas. I was wrong there.
Let's see here. We got a few questions out there from Twitter, and we got a couple calls actually from the hotline, the Burgundy Brigade hotline.
Before we go on,
go for it.
How great would a top 4 defense of Johnson, Zadorov, Dahlin, and Makar sound? Just let that stew a little bit. Now on to questions.
That's yummy. That's yummy. All right. So let's see here. We have a few questions. We got Mitch at CrazyMitch19 asks, does the Canes trade of Murphy to the Flames sink chances of Avs getting the defense off of them for Duchesne?
No, because they wouldn't ask for Murphy anyway.
Yeah. There's better things in there that the Avs would ask for. I would think as well. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm a little stuffy. Let's see. William Westerman at Puck Sanity asks very simply, Yager? Yakupov? I think it's pretty safe to say.
Yager I wouldn't mind.
I wouldn't mind Yager, but he's not going to come to the Avalanche.
No.
Although he does appear to be attempting to play for every NHL team. So,
okay.
You know what? Why not? Come on out to Colorado, Yarmir.
We could knock off two teams.
Yeah.
Come for the Avs for a half a year, trade to another team for
trade you to
half.
somewhere else. Absolutely. Why not? Let's do this. And Yakupov, we kind of answered. No, yeah.
How about no?
How about Slappy White at SlappyWhite52? Love the name. Says, who are your top backup goalie candidates and how much would you pay them? I think I mentioned Jonathan Bernier, who, again, backup goaltenders, you pay him about $1 million a year, maybe a little more, right?
For a good goaltender, maybe 1.5.
Yeah, maybe if you're going to go the Steve Mason route, that.
I mean, the Avs aren't really going to be hurting for cap.
Right, that backup, exactly, that backup potential starter. If you're anticipating Varley potentially getting injured, you might even go close to $2 million a year.
Yep, I would do 1.5 for Ryan Miller.
Yeah. Why the heck not? Then, what other questions do we have here? That might have been all of them from Twitter. Those were all of them from Twitter, but we got a couple phone calls. First one is a guy with a really good name.
Hi, this is Kevin from Denver, Twitter handle at DORANKA. I'm a Rockies and Broncos fan and a Fairweather Nuggets and Avalanche fan. I'm wondering why I should watch the Avs this season or if I should. Thanks. Bye.
All right, Kevin. First off, you have an awesome name. Should he watch the Avalanche this year? If you're, and these are his words, if you're a Fairweather Avalanche fan, chances are good you'll have a tough time staying interested in this team.
I mean, they can't be any worse than last year. If you watched them last year,
challenge accepted.
I know, I'm really exciting here.
Yeah, I mean, very true. Again, it depends. If you're interested in watching the younger guys get in there and seeing what they'll be able to do, seeing if Rantanen's going to be able to keep taking those next steps, because let's face it, Rantanen at the end of last season, that dude was awesome to watch. You're going to have Comfort, you're going to have Jost, you may have Greer. There may be a couple other younger guys.
And Greer's going to be exciting to watch.
Yes.
He's going to piss off a whole lot of people, and you're not going to care one bit.
Love it. Mironov will be interesting to see him step in. You'll be able to watch Zadorov hopefully continue to make his progress and stay healthy. There are reasons to watch the team.
I mean, clear outside chance, but Milosh is going to be in the mix too.
He's definitely going to start the year in the AHL. I would figure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
you know who I think's going to start the year on the Avs defense? Chris Begraw.
Yep.
and Sakic talks well about him, and I think last year was just injury, and it really sabotaged his game. I feel like he's going to be a lot better this year.
Well, we can hope for sure. So again, there's reasons to watch the team. Are they the reasons that would hold the attention of a Fairweather fan? I don't know. So there's reasons to watch, Kevin, but Again, if you identify as a fair weather fan, you might have a hard time staying totally interested because I do imagine that there will still be a lot of losing for the Avalanche this year.
Yeah. Hey, if they can get Dolan out of this, I'm going to ride every loss and be okay with it.
We'll be perfectly okay with that.
As long as it's not 48 points bad. I'm expecting them to be in the 63-point total.
If they can get to 70, I would be happy.
70 wouldn't be bad.
I'll take it. I will take it. I'm setting my bar nice and low.
You don't think 63 is low enough? 63 is still last in the NHL on last year's point total.
I know. It was, oh my God, so bad. And then we've got Louis from San Diego. Once again, back on the podcast. Here is Louis.
Gentlemen, what's going on, man? Both Aaron. Come on, man. Like, you guys, I love your podcast. Oh, I can't believe the Avs are where they're at right now. I really don't feel very confident in what's going on with the team in general. I mean, I'm not going to scream, piss, and moan like a lot of fans have been freaking out about losing Calvin Pickard and, not trading Duchesne. I actually believe that if Duchesne doesn't get traded and we just keep him, I think he has a 30-goal season. And or let's say he has 25 goals by the time trade deadline comes around. Maybe 30, that'd be awesome. Maybe he'll have a career year and we'll just maximize trade value. But even then, I think a lot of this is media nonsense. Like, it's media driven. Like, oh, Joe Sakic hasn't done enough. Blah, 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 blah. Like, really think about all the nonsense. I think it's just they don't have crap to write about right now, so they're just trying to, like, fuel this fire, and it's just, I don't know, man. What do you guys, give me the sense of where all this nonsense is coming from. Like, Duchesne's all of a sudden a Ryan O'Reilly, like, malcontent. Like, what the hell does this come from, you know? But, anyways, boys, Kevin, Aaron, I mean, you guys are probably the best podcast I listen to regarding the Avs, so keep doing what you're doing, man. I miss you guys. And, yeah, maybe we'll meet up one of these days. It's Louis from Cali. I'm out.
He brings up a couple things in there. How much of what people view as the Avs issues, Sakic, Duchesne, how much of that do you feel is media-driven?
I'll go 73%. For a nice round number.
Yeah, I was going to say that's an oddly specific number. Yeah, I feel I'm with you in that I feel there is a lot of this.
And I don't feel like it's constrained to the Avs. I feel like it's Team A is doing bad and player B should be traded because Team A is being bad.
Yeah. And that's. I mean, we definitely we talked about the Rick Nash trade before. There was a lot of that surrounding Columbus when the Rick Nash stuff was happening. Why haven't they moved? And they're waiting too long. This can't be good for Rick Nash. And blah blah blah. And exactly all of that. And it's all of this. It's all here right now. And again, I'm with you completely, Louis, on especially regarding all the Matt Duchesne stuff. And now suddenly. After he is one of the most visible Avalanche, always is constantly engaged in the community, is always. I mean, really, the guy you watch him skate. It's not like he's dogging it out there. Suddenly, he's an attitude problem. I don't get it. I feel a lot of it is media driven, and we've talked about it many times. We've mentioned it many times. He's Paul Stastny. He's Paul Stastny.
It doesn't hurt that the Denver media, specifically the newspaper, is driving a lot of speculative reporting, which hurts more than it helps.
Yeah, big time. Big time.
And I don't usually like to call out the media, but this, I can't live with it.
The Avs really should have drafted Brooks Makar.
I felt like there was a 7th round pick there that should have been made.
Oh man, yeah, and just hang in there, Louis. I don't think there's a lot to expect from the team this next season. but the team is moving in the right direction. If you look in their pipeline right now, the pipeline is looking much better than it has in a long, long time.
You know, the Avalanche really should draft more defensemen. They only have like 17 in their pipeline. I'm serious. People keep saying, "Oh, you need to draft a defenseman." Draft.
Yeah,
Hey, how about you draft some wingers?
Yeah, totally.
Because the only ones that are there are written in hieroglyphics. Because that's how long ago they drafted one.
You're absolutely right. People always say that because the Avs need help on the blue line on the big team. But you're rarely going to get a guy in the draft who's going to come in and fix that right away.
And you're not going to get it through free agency. If you're going to trade for it, you're going to pay out the ass.
Yeah, defensemen are at a gigantic premium this year. No one wants to let a defenseman go.
That's why Anaheim has been so good for so many years. Look at the number of defensemen they have.
Yeah.
And every time you think, oh, they're done, they don't have any more, they bring up 3 more, and you're like, where the hell are you keeping these guys?
That's why how Nashville kind of got where they are. They had the freedom to trade Seth Jones because they had that much depth defensively. And
they could trade Shea Weber, but that's a whole matter other.
Yeah, I mean they got another defenseman back for that, but.
But when you get PK Subban, you better have a bunch of other defensive defensemen around there.
Very true.
So that he can play his game.
Very, very true. Right on. Well, I mean, I don't know. I think that might be a podcast right there. What do you think, Aaron?
I do have one thing to leave off on.
Oh, go for it.
And it's a question I postulated to you when we were thinking about this.
Right.
What is the Avalanche identity?
We don't know.
I mean, when it comes to front office, when it comes to drafting we have kind of an idea. They're going to look for prospects that are, whatever the league, they're going to look for guys that are quick with their mind, quick with their hands, quick with their feet. And it's going to be a combination of one or two. If it has a combination of all three, they're definitely going earlier.
Absolutely.
I feel like there are teams that just build an identity and then they fit players into that. For years the Detroit Red Wings were like that. For years the Avs were like that.
Yep.
They had their identity of a quick, offensive, skilled team. They drove teams back with their center play. They had wingers who could finish. They had really good special teams. And they had good, bordering on great goaltending at their peak.
Yep.
And I say this because I don't know how many times it feels like the Avs went, oh, we're going to go with this small, skilled centers. No, we're going to go big. Now we're going... Yeah. It feels like they've tried to shift their identity through the first rebuild between getting Duchesne and then Landeskog and McKinnon. And the drafts that were in there were... How many smaller centers did they draft?
So many. That was part of the reason that the Avalanche fired their previous scouting staff, was that it seemed that they never had a strong vision of where they were going. It was always just, I like this defenseman style now, so I'm going to take 5 of them.
Well, and now I feel like the Avs are drafting from the blue line out. And now that they have a stable of blue line prospects that are going to filter through, because we know forwards come through a little quicker.
Yeah.
They might focus on forward a little bit more in the next couple of drafts.
Yeah.
So that's good that they have an identity there. Now it's time for the coach to say, this is what I want my players to be. This is where I want them to be. How I want them to play. And then management to go, okay, we'll get you players that fit into that identity.
Yes.
Which is why I do not like the idea, even if the Avs are bad this year, I don't like the idea of firing Bednar.
Me either.
give him 3 years.
Absolutely.
Especially if you're rebuilding, give him 3 years to really build a roster that he can get his hands into and work with.
Yeah.
And if after 10 games in the next year, if nothing's changed, get rid of him then. Basically, all hands on deck, write it out this year.
Yep.
And anyone who doesn't want to be a part of that, be it Duchesne, Landeskog, you can move them for assets. Mm-hmm. But the Avs need to establish the identity.
Yeah.
And everything that they need to be and do needs to fall in line with that. Otherwise, they're just going to be spinning their wheels.
Yeah, and I think they're starting to move that way. Sakic had made it clear he wanted to get younger and faster. That's going to be really the first portion of that. And I think looking at the picks that they've made, they're finally coming into the more current version of the NHL. You need guys who are, especially on the back end, you need the defensemen who are great skaters, quick thinkers, can make a good, solid, reliable first pass every time. Maintain possession. Possession is the name of the game now.
No turnovers.
Yeah. No, don't, because right now, far too often, and you saw it this year, you saw it a lot through Patrick Waugh's time, far too many times the Avs would just shoot for the home run shot. The let's just whip it up the boards and hope that something happens and the guy will get it on the run and go get a big, awesome 2-on-1 scoring chance. It'll be great. It will look awesome. And a couple times that happened, yeah, it looked great and it looked awesome. But too many. The teams are too good now. People can skate way too much. They see you do that. They anticipate now. You can't that cannot be your whole game plan. That cannot be your. You got to have guys that are able to do that. So when the opportunity does present itself, you can make that great 70-foot pass from the face-off circles to the opposing blue line. But now you've got to have the game is possess the puck, break out, control the puck through the neutral zone, attack.
And if they are picking their identity, this cannot be an experiment like the getting big old players.
Totally.
Was.
Commit to it.
Right. 100%.
Yep. I'm with you, man. I think that's a nice little way to tie up the podcast.
Well, thank you for bearing with me, and I hope my voice didn't fade in too much with in and out too much here.
Nah, man, you sounded great. You always sound good to me.
Well, good. I've been, turning the mic on and off to cough here, so you're welcome for that.
Well, hey, whatever works for you, man. Well, thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for sticking with us on this post-draft and pre-free agency podcast. We love having you listen. Make sure that you subscribe to us. We are hosted on Podbean, so you can find us there. We are also available to subscribe on iTunes, so make sure you take a look at us and find us on iTunes. Hit subscribe, so anytime we upload a podcast, boom, we're automatically in your ears. We will have some stuff to talk about, obviously, in the next coming weeks here as free agency continues and as we get towards as the roster begins to fill itself out. So keep the faith, man. Let's not throw all these everybody off the cliff too much just yet. That day may come, but it's not just yet. So thanks again for sticking with us, Aaron. Always a pleasure, my friend. Always a pleasure.
Good to chat with you as well.
And thanks to those who sent the questions and who gave us calls. Remember, if you have a question or a comment or anything that you want to talk about, give us a call on the Burgundy Brigade podcast hotline, which is 720-477-3762. It's a message line, so it'll go straight to the messages. Leave whatever you say, and we'll play it on the podcast. So that will do it here. You guys have a great day, night, whenever you happen to be listening to this, and we will talk to you guys later. Have a good one.